Welcome to Internet of the Mind podcast. Just a few weeks ago, a teacher of mine, Dr. Larry Nims, PhD, passed away at the age of 90 years old. Dr. Nims was a psychologist who helped thousands of people to be free of psychological and emotional pain. He also became a Christian minister after he was able to set himself free from what he refers to as toxic religion. Dr. Nims is the creator of the Be Set Free Fast protocols, also known as BSFF. Be Set Free Fast is an acronym for the full title of his program. B stands for Behavioral and Emotional, SET stands for Symptom Elimination Training, Free stands for Resolving Excess Emotion, and FAST stands for Fear, Anger, Sadness, and Trauma. Taken together, Be Set Free Fast stands for Behavioral and Emotional Symptom Elimination Training for resolving excess emotion, fear, anger, sadness, and trauma. The topic for today's podcast is what I believe to be one of the most important contributions Dr. Nims has made in his career as a helping professional. It's a paper that he wrote, narrated in this episode, about a critical task that he believes must be completed before any approach to lasting change can be effective. That task involves setting ourselves free from the bondage of unforgiveness. Even though most religions, philosophers, and therapists are in agreement with Dr. Nims, this task seems daunting, if not impossible, to many people. In his paper, Dr. Nims clarifies not only why we need to do it, but how we can do it easily and permanently, thereby breaking free from the chains and shackles of unforgiveness that are holding us back. The following is a narration of the exact words of the late Dr. Larry Nims. You will find a link to download his paper in the description below.
There is no more important treatment work for any of us to do than accomplishing complete forgiveness. It is absolutely essential to thoroughly eliminate the anger, judgment, and criticism that is at the root of unforgiveness. Only then can the unforgiveness be permanently eliminated. Unforgiveness is probably the most deadly and self-defeating problem to leave unresolved. It creates all kinds of emotional distress and relationship problems for anyone who is caught in the trap of unforgiveness. The many negative effects of our own unforgiveness impact us and others far more than we realize. This impact causes many new problems for us, virtually on a daily basis. See the list of unforgiveness problems below. Historically, unforgiveness has not been addressed very much in psychology until perhaps in very recent years. Perhaps that's because our attempts to free ourselves and other people have not been very effective. The traditional psychological methods have been unable to thoroughly eliminate unforgiveness. This inattention probably stems from a lack of understanding for the real source of unforgiveness and the psychological mechanism that is involved in creating, maintaining, and activating unforgiveness. Therefore, even when a person may actually, through diligent pursuit, eliminate some specific unforgiveness, it will typically return, often rather quickly. That means all the problems that result from unforgiveness continue to operate and undermine the person's best intentions. In addition, the person experiences new distresses, especially when realizing that the original unforgiveness issues continue to create problems. Happily, now we know the mechanism that causes unforgiveness and all psychological problems. Now we know how to quickly and gently eliminate our self-destructive unforgiveness problems. This is what you will learn in this paper. You will no longer have to struggle under the psychological burdens created by that unforgiveness that you never chose in the first place. Be Set Free Fast sets you free of problems related to unforgiveness quickly, gently, and thoroughly, irregardless of the people or events connected with your unforgiveness issues. The role of spirituality in resolving and avoiding unforgiveness. Our spirituality is perhaps the most essential part of ourselves, of our human nature. We need to be clear and at peace in our spirit. Spirituality is the integrating part of our nature. Our spirituality reconciles and coordinates the conflicting mental, emotional, and physical operations and functions within us. When we are balanced in our spirituality, we can then more readily bring ourselves into balance in every other part of our life experience. Equally importantly, we are far less likely to become angry, judgmental, and critical and unforgiving. We can be more at peace in ourselves and with the world around us. We all have conflicts of this type in our basic functioning. However, this would not be the case if we did not accumulate so many conflicting subconscious programs. Another result of these conflicts is the psychological and spiritual pain they cause. It is helpful to keep in mind, even to remind ourselves often, that we did not choose to include these conflicts in the subconscious programs that create, maintain, and activate them. They were embedded in our subconscious mind without our conscious awareness or permission. Therefore, it's extremely important that we be free in ourselves to enable our spirituality to operate fully and freely. BSFF helps accomplish freedom and flexibility of response rather easily. Then we are able to proact rather than only react to those situations that created our anger and unforgiveness. To truly be at peace and able to effectively take charge of our lives, we need to be at peace in our spirits. Everyone needs to sort out and embrace their spiritual foundation for themselves. We all need to be well-grounded spiritually. It is impossible to do that accurately and fully when we are caught up in reacting to other people's ideas about our spirituality, which leads to distraction and confusion about our own spirituality. Therefore, I encourage you to be kind to yourself and resolve your distresses and reactions about God, religions, or any spiritual issue. It's quite impossible to be firm in your own spiritual self when you're reacting to other people's spiritual language and assertions. In fact, many people are devastated by religious messages. Even so, it's crucial to recognize that this severe distress or devastation is a product of unresolved psychological problems. When we are spiritually free in ourselves, those messages no longer have any control over us. Please note that in the last part of this paper, I have included a special section using BSFF specifically for Christians. However, most of you will likely gain additional helpful BSFF information by reading it as well. It is just a special application of BSFF for Christians, and I think that you'll realize that the treatment strategies are useful for resolving many other types of issues. You can gain this information without embracing the Christian concepts or theology that are discussed in this section. This entire section will be especially valuable to those of you who are helping Christian people resolve their problems of anger, judgment, and criticism. The psychological problem sequence that sets up and maintains all unforgiveness. Christians will understand the spiritual value of doing this unforgiveness work, so I believe that they will be comfortable with these concepts. The problem of spiritual dysfunction. Personal note: this topic is very dear to me because of the damaging pain and suffering that I experienced with organized religion. I did not get this mess untangled sufficiently to be at peace spiritually until I was 47 years old. Then in 1988, I became an ordained Christian minister. My profession as a psychologist has always been my ministry. I am called to love everyone, to see the real person behind their problems, and to encourage, inspire, and help people be set free. That is my calling in life. I've been very blessed to be given Be Set Free Fast to share with others. It's okay for you to know that I am a Christian, and it's very important for you to know that I do not need you to be a Christian. I'm more concerned that you be free to sort out your own spiritual grounding in your search to connect with your higher source. Spiritual grounding, I believe, can only be achieved through such a connection with our source, our Creator, our God. Let me remind you again, because it's so important for your own personal spiritual freedom and peace, if you are disturbed by these Christian concepts or language, or by the concept of a creator, God, higher power, etc., freeing yourself of the distress associated with these concepts is critical. I believe then that you will realize that you actually are not psychologically free in your own spirituality, and that you are permitting beliefs and religious concepts to control your reactions. This means that your personal growth, both psychological and spiritual, is being severely hindered. As with any psychological problem, use BSFF to be set free of all distresses and limitations, no matter what the issue may be. Treatment sequence for psychological and spiritual freedom. Whenever we are angry with ourselves for any way that we believe we have failed, been inappropriate or inadequate, whether by acts or attitudes of commission or omission, we need first to use Be Set Free Fast, BSFF, to eliminate the hurts and angers toward others and toward ourselves. Then we can successfully resolve our own hurts, angers, and unforgiveness. Only then will this confession prayer be effective to set us permanently free of the terrible spiritual consequences of any unconfessed sins. Note that we always treat anger first, precisely because it precedes judgment and criticism, which result in unforgiveness. Without following this treatment sequence, we just recycle the judgment, criticism, and unforgiveness we just treated. Therefore, always treat all angers first and then treat the unforgiveness. It is essential to do each of these steps in this order. 1. Treat all anger toward each person. 2. Forgive each person. 3. Confess and repent. 4. Then, invite the Lord into all of these areas of your life. For each person, individually, after you have fully treated and acknowledged all of the anger, do the simple forgiveness treatment. You are not doing this to convince or to deceive yourself or anyone else. You are doing it to be set free fast. It works because we are made that way. If any of these problems ever returns, simply treat them again with these same simple steps. It is quite easy to be free fast again, anytime, any place. Typically, when you retreat a returning problem, you will rarely have to treat it a third time. BSFF is about being set free. I am about helping people be set free. I encourage you to examine and treat any and all negative distresses you can identify. In fact, even as you read or hear this, treat to full elimination of every problem that is stirred up by this discussion. It will be very helpful for your own sense of peace and for finding your own ground as a spiritual being. When you react to any misinformation related to organized religions, you are simply letting those thoughts control you as well as your thoughts and emotions. Being free of distress about these various beliefs is especially important because the religious community often consists of imperfect people talking about one type of God or another and one type of religion or another. This may result in what is known as toxic religion. Unfortunately, many people inside and outside of organized religions try to impose their views on other people. They criticize others for not embracing their point of view. They don't even realize that, very often, they're being prideful and arrogant in doing this. Convinced that their intentions are honorable, they may not even realize that they are creating psychological and spiritual pain for people. Even worse is that many religious folks very often believe they are obligated to be true to their manner and style of presenting their legalistic religious beliefs. Does this sound familiar to anyone? It sure does to me. I was badly damaged psychologically and spiritually by long-term exposure to legalistic, judgmental, and critical anxiety-producing religion. Our spirituality is perhaps the most essential part of ourselves. We need to be clear and at peace in our spirits. Everyone needs to sort that out for him or herself. It's quite impossible to do that accurately when we are caught up in reacting to other people's ideas about it. We need to be free in ourselves without reactions if we have any hope of resolving this issue. Be kind to yourself and rid yourself of any distresses and reactions about God and religions. Find your own spiritual foundation that connects you to the source of your being. The terrible costs of unforgiveness. Here are some of the inevitable costs that can result whenever we hold onto unforgiveness. They are all in operation, continuously in every instance of unforgiveness, whether we consciously recognize them or not. Consequences happen to everyone every time they become entrapped in unresolved unforgiveness. We have all paid these high costs in our lives over and over again. We probably still do pay for them in many unhealed areas of our lives. Here are some of the things that often happen when I hold any unforgiveness about anyone or anything, whether or not I'm aware of my unresolved distress. I continue to feel the psychological pain of the perceived offenses. I block healthy communication and potential reconciliation with the offender. I automatically perceive and re-experience similar offenses and injury by others who remind me of the offender. I attract similar situations, people, and injuries to myself. I give up my power to others to determine how I will feel and respond or react in similar situations in which I experience psychological injury. I render myself incapable of ever really knowing and learning from the full truth about the event that damaged the original relationship. I take added toxic negativity into my present relationships. I isolate myself more and more, and I prevent or avoid many new relationships. I become vulnerable to being spiteful, resentful, and bitter. I disrespect myself, devalue myself, or reject myself. I block myself spiritually from receiving help and healing from my higher source. My own human spirit shrivels up, shrinks, more and more. Most counselors could probably add several more items to this dirty dozen list. Consider the damaging effects on our immune system, the many tensions in our bodies, and the subconscious setup for many degenerative diseases as we eat ourselves up with anger, resentment, or bitterness, and also the enormous sadness, sorrow, and grief of lost relationships. This is a very expensive set of costs to pay for self-righteous unforgiveness, is it not? Yet, most of us have some of these attitudes buried deep within our subconscious minds. I have not seen a client yet who does not have numerous unresolved hurts, angers, resentments, and other emotional injuries, often with judgment, criticism, unforgiveness, and related negative and self-limiting attitudes attached. Fortunately, we now have the tools and therapeutic support so that we can no longer be victimized in all of these ways by the devastation of anger and unforgiveness. We can now readily neutralize and eliminate all of the psychological costs of unforgiveness simply by treating ourselves with BSFF and practicing forgiveness. There are some other crucial steps to take in order to be set free fast from the spiritual bondage that arises from unforgiveness. Those steps can be found in our relationship with our Creator. It is crucial to clear up with our God all of the negative spiritual aspects of our unforgiveness if we are to remain free. Otherwise, we are very vulnerable to taking back the sequences of an angry, judgmental, and critical unforgiveness system again. Each individual must find his or her way to effectively remove any divisive blocks to full relationship with God. There are a great many proposed ways to do this. There are also those who assert that this is not even a valid issue. Herein, I am not trying to insist that anyone do it my way. I am encouraging everyone to look deeply into the subject and find the foundational truth so that we can ultimately set our souls free. Mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. I do believe that the best source of such understanding comes from God Himself. In whatever way you make contact with Him, I encourage you to do so and to ask Him to show you personally what He requires in order for you to establish and/or restore full relationship with Him. You can do this even if you're not sure whether or not God actually exists. In fact, you may even ask Him if He exists. He will answer if you're sincerely listening and truly want to know. Fortunately, one of the wonderful things about God is that He does not require us to do all of this on our own. As with all of His injunctions, entreaties, and requirements, He expects to come alongside of us and empower us to make contact and have relationship with Him. Therefore, He will respond to that request if you're willing to make it. Sincerely ask Him to show you who He is. Persist in seeking Him and you will find Him. Of course, in order to best hear from Him accurately, it is essential to clear up any issues you may have about Him. His existence, His sovereignty, His goodwill toward you, His availability to you, His ability to communicate with you, and His ability and willingness to do anything about your situation or circumstances are common areas of confusion and pain for many people. I submit that it is the personal responsibility of each of us, for ourselves and for each other, to clean up our acts, get ourselves healed and be set free, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. This is especially true for those of us who are counselors or other healers. Only when we do this will we be able to embrace and to live our lives fully, lovingly, joyfully, peacefully, and constructively with ourselves, with others, with our world, and with our Creator. Again, I certainly do not require anyone to agree with me about this. That is not up to me. The only way it is any of my business at all is that I care about this issue for everyone. And, if I have a problem about that, it is just my problem, not anyone else's problem. Nevertheless, I know that we each must sort this out for ourselves, hopefully, with the help of wise spiritual counsel. Of course, wisest counsel will come from God Himself. Seek and find Him, and everything that you truly need will be added unto you. Since judgment, criticism, unforgiveness, and other hurtful attitudes and intentions separate us further from our spiritual source, I encourage everyone who is dedicated to helping people who are in psychological or emotional pain to examine these dynamics in the human psyche. We each need to be set free in all of these areas of distress and its limitations in order to be fully available to help others with their own psychological and spiritual struggles. We are limited in our ability to help precisely to the degree that we still are stuck and distressed about similar negative spiritual experiences. Further, I implore each of us who are in the high calling of counseling to continue to search our own souls to uproot every issue that may be limiting us in our own spiritual growth. It is often said that as counselors we cannot take anyone further in any area of personal growth than we have gone ourselves. Our own limits will simply restrict how far we can take anyone else in their growth. See my paper titled BSFF Helps Spiritual Growth for guidance in this area. You may request this free article by email if you do not already have it. bsfwithlarry@cox.net. It is very gratifying that, as counselors, we can use energy therapy techniques for ourselves to be set free fast. We counselors and helpers also need it, don't we? Let's face it, we act just like people too. So, let's all renew our efforts to regain our own spiritual freedom as well. Let us not settle for ourselves any less than the same very best that we so earnestly desire for our clients. Now, may I gently and lovingly close with the words of Tiny Tim in Charles Dickens' wonderful story, A Christmas Carol. God bless us, everyone.
Thanks for listening to this important message written by Dr. Larry Nims. Please give his appeal your open-minded and thorough consideration. If you find a desire to put this information to work in your life, contact me by email at this secure address, support@serenitycreationsonline.com.